Hello, my name is Vajrashura and I'm a member of the Dublin Buddhist Centre team. And this is the first of a series of online videos as part of our online program, which we're calling Thought for the Day. And there'll be one of these every weekday morning by a member of the Triratna Buddhist order. So in thinking about these times, I'm reminded of an incident from the Buddha to be's life, the man who was Siddhartha Gautama, who went on to become the Buddha, who went on to gain enlightenment. And the story goes that he lived a life of ease and comfort, but over consecutive days while out traveling in his nearby town, he saw four sights, the famous four sights of Buddhism. And these were that he saw a sick person, an old person, a dead person, and finally a holy man, a holy wandering person. And these four sights had a tremendous influence on the Buddha to be, on this man Siddhartha Gautama. The story goes that he was so pampered, so sheltered from the world, that he had to ask his companion to explain to him why this person was so sick, why this other person looked so old and infirm, why this other person again was dead, and what that meant. So he and the charioteer, his friend, explained all these to him, and these had a big effect on him. Now, we don't know literally if that was the first time he had ever seen an old man, a sick man, a dead man, but the truth of it is, as we've probably experienced ourselves, it can be as if for the first time that we see these things when they strike us close to home. For example, at the moment, it can be very striking just how terrifying illness is when it threatens someone we love, when it threatens someone we care about. Whereas much of the rest of the time, when that isn't the case, we can be rather blithe to it. It doesn't really affect us very much emotionally, but it can really strike home. And that's what it sounds like happened to the Buddha at this time. It really just struck him deeply. This will happen to everyone I love. This can happen to everyone I care for. This can happen to me. We can grow sick. We can grow old. We can die. And if that's all there was, then that would be a rather terrifying prospect. That would be a rather dark world that we live in. And that would be a very challenging situation to be in. But the story goes on that on the fourth day, the Buddha saw a wandering holy man, a monk of sorts, a renunciant, someone who had left the world to lead a spiritual life. And this person was wandering mindfully through the marketplace. And the Buddha to be rather, the man Siddhartha, was so struck by this person's poise, this person's mindfulness, that on the spot they decided this was what they had to do. They had to go forth, they had to leave regular worldly trappings and become a spiritual practitioner, a renunciant, and seek out the answers to why life had all these challenges such as old age, sickness, and death. And that's what the Buddha to be did. He cut off his hair, he left behind his fine clothes, he left behind his palaces and all his relatives and family. And for 6 years, it said, he wandered, living in very tough conditions, meditating for hours on end, living on very, very little as a renunciant, as a forest wanderer, until he eventually gained enlightenment and saw the truth of things, saw the truth of life, saw that old age, sickness, and death, and so on, are inevitable parts of life that we all have to accept. So the lesson for me here in this time is that, yes, it's very visible at the moment, old age, sickness, and death, particularly sickness. Well, all three of them really. I mean, sickness particularly affects old people, and there's a real threat of death to those people. And I'm sure we all have people who we're worrying about at the moment. And as I said earlier, if it was only that, if that's all we had, it would be very challenging indeed. But the wandering holy man, for us, can be a sight of something more. The Buddha can represent this to us as Buddhists. He now is the fourth sight for us, the sight that helps us deal with the first three sights. So for me, as a Buddhist, this fourth sight of the holy man, of the Buddha, means that yes, while there is sickness, there is also love, there's also compassion, there is also a life dedicated to trying to ease the suffering of others. There is generosity, both in terms of friendship, in terms of money for people suffering, in terms of time, energy, help, and so on. There is the opportunity represented by the Buddha of a spiritual life, a response to the first three sights that isn't just sparked by the fear caused by the first three sights. Our immediate response to suffering, to old age, to sickness, to death, is to recoil from it. But the Buddha and the fourth sight offer another way of being, where we don't just descend into pack animals, everyone looking out for themselves, but rather we try and live in a different way, which is based upon awareness, which is based upon kindness. Talking to some of my friends, quite a few of them have mentioned pandemic fatigue, where we just feel like it's all too much. We can't take it all in. The scale of what might happen to us and the ones we love is just too much to take in. But I'd really encourage you all to remember that there is four sights and not just three, that the Buddha represents a possibility of always responding creatively to the challenges that we're facing, of always responding with love, with kindness, no matter what the world is presenting to us, no matter how bad the news is telling us it's going to get. There's always the possibility of empathy, of love, of connection. Even if we're isolating ourselves in our homes, we can still manifest that to our housemates. We can manifest it to our friends that we phone and message and text and email. Maybe we're able to go and help people in our community around us, old people needing groceries and so on. But the main thing is that we just keep an open heart to the world and let that lead us where it needs to lead us in an authentic way. So I hope you can keep that open heart, remember the vision of the Buddha at the fourth sight, and I wish you all the best in the coming days and weeks and potentially months that we have ahead of us. It is a great challenge, but it's also an opportunity to really bring into the world more fully the fourth sight of what a spiritual life in the context of all of this would look like. So I wish you all the best with that. Don't forget that you can support that vision of the fourth sight by coming along to our online events here in the Buddha Center. We're very keen to support people, to help positivity and staying positive in the face of all that's happening. So you can check out our website, dublinbuddhacenter.org/online for all those events. And I hope to see you at some of those online events soon. And best of luck with it all.